Hey, what is up guys, welcome back to the mobile game tutorial. So, to make up for the last episode, it was too small, so we're gonna have a big episode today. We're gonna cover quite a lot of stuff, and we're pretty much gonna try and close the game in terms of the coding. So we can start beginning editing our level and actually putting some actual level in there, right? Okay, so let's take a look at what we're gonna be tackling today. Let's hit play. Going to boot one level. And then after 3 seconds it's going to start. Now what I'd like to do is create another piece of UI. Actually, we're going to create a new piece of UI that is going to activate on the moment that we hit the finish. So basically it's going to tell us congratulations, you finish in such amount of time, and here is your score. So did you hit the bronze time, the gold time? Because right now we finish a level and we're sent back here, and that kind of sucks, right? And we're also going to apply some little polishing at the very end, like this. We start, we start with the level selection like that. It's not scrolled all the way to the left, and that's what we're going to do as well. Maybe add the logo and all that kind of good stuff. So let's get started. I am going to go inside of the the training scene, and here is our training scene. Oh, let me just here we go. So we're going to create a new piece of UI under canvas. Let's go ahead and create a panel. So I will right click on canvas, UI, and panel. This is going to be the I could call it end or level, and what actually let's call it ending stats. It doesn't really matter. The name never really matters in this case. And we're going to change the background for, say, something like that. Change the color, boost its opacity, like so. And we could be taking the whole screen. And what I was thinking about doing actually is like having it this way, this big, and we just turn off the rest of the UI. But this thing stays up. So basically, let's just imagine that there's nothing else behind that. And we are going to go under ending stats and create new buttons. So right click on that, UI, and the first button is going to be a next level button. Or is it going to be a next? It's actually going to be a menu. So main menu, the exact same button we have in the other. Actually, you know what, we could actually delete this. Go under the pause menu, take the main menu button and just copy it right here. So now this way we can reuse the same exact button, and it has the same function, the same function linked. So we pretty much already have that done. And now just for the sake of seeing what I'm doing, I will turn off the pause menu and also the only the pause menu, just to see what is going on. Alright, so under ending stats, let's go ahead and drag and drop our new main menu button. We're going to use another button as well, so let's duplicate this one. And this is going to be a restart button, in case you want to redo your level. And now I'm thinking, we already have another restart button, so let's go ahead and take it from the pause menu. So, restart button, I'll paste it in here. And there we go. So we pretty much have these two buttons. Now let's go ahead and position them the way we want it to be. Maybe scale it up a little bit as well. Why not? So like that. And what would the scale on this one? It was 2.01. I'll just go ahead and copy that. Make sure they have the same scale, and also make sure that they are on the same Y. Okay. Right, so now we have these two buttons. I think they actually really works right now. We don't even have to link them to the appropriate function because they're already linked since we copied them. Okay. Now what I will do is whenever we enter this phase, whenever we finish the level, I'm going to turn off all of the UI except this whole panel that we just made. So we're gonna have to put the text somewhere else. So I will have another timer going on somewhere. So I'll just copy the timer text component, not the timer panel, only the timer text. and I will put it somewhere in here, so maybe in the center. And now we gotta find a way to actually tell the player, congratulations, you've made it in either the gold time, the bronze time, or the silver time. And also we could also add a message. So if we just take a look at our ending stats, we can also create another text component. So right click, UI, I will center this text, make it white. Okay, and maybe make it a lot bigger. Oh, by the way, when you scale up a font, don't do like I just did. Don't use the scale tool. Actually scale up with the font size, because that's pretty much how you're going to get the best resolution out of this. You're also going to need to increase the size of the rect transform so you can scale up your font size. So maybe something of the sort. And that is going to work. So bold font, because it's quite important text, why not? And let me just put it back on the white. Here we go. Right, so now we gotta decide what are we going to do if the player hits the bronze time or the silver time. Like, what element are we going to change? We could be changing the color of this font. I think that could actually work. And by font I mean this actual timer text color. So this is the congratulation text. I'm just going to rename it real quick, and this is going to be the end timer. Okay, right, so we have our new piece of UI. Most of it should actually work. Let's turn the pause menu back on, and now what we're gonna do is actually start coding inside of the level manager. So let's open up that guy in MonoDevelop. We are going to need a reference to that menu. So game object, public game object, and menu. And you know what? I'm actually going to rename it in the game as well. So it's not going to be ending stats. It is going to be the end menu, which makes way more sense. Right, so now our level manager over here has a reference to a end menu, and we're gonna go ahead and just drag and drop him right in here. Okay, now when the game starts, we are going to do end menu dot set active false, so we don't actually see it. And at the very end, when we get the victory function, we are going to do end menu dot set active true. Now we also gotta turn off the rest of the UI. And how exactly are we going to do this? I was thinking about doing a for each loop actually, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so instead of doing end menu, actually we're gonna do that, but a little bit later on. Up here, we are going to say end menu dot parent. I'm trying to get the parent of that, so transform dot parent. Right now we have the root of the UI, and do we have a for each on that? We don't. Let's keep this in our clipboard, and we're gonna do for each transform t in end menu dot transform dot parent dot nothing. Actually, that works. So for every single transform under the UI root, because the parent of end menu is actually the canvas itself. So for every single element in the canvas, we are going to say transform dot game object dot set active, and don't do transform, do t instead, because that's the name of the field we just said. So t dot game object dot set active false. So for every single one of those, including the end menu, we're gonna turn it off. So nothing is going to be activated anymore. Not even the joystick, not even the boost button, the pause menu, nothing is going to be there. What we're gonna do is actually, where it says load scene, we're gonna put that in comments so it does not load the next scene. Okay, so our error is due because we start the game directly from this scene. Let's try from the main menu now. So level selection, level 1. Gotta wait the 3 seconds. That might be a little bit too much, by the way. We might have to change it. And let's complete this. Here we go. And for some reason, okay, no, so yeah, we finished the level, but the ball still kept going, and it went below the Y level that we set. So it restarted the level, basically. So whenever we win like that, we gotta make sure that we pretty much either pause the game or remove all the velocity on the ball itself. So I think that we could actually keep the level going, but we could actually just take the player and set his velocity to 0. Okay, so right here in the victory, we are going to remove that whole line. We do not need it anymore because the buttons in the end menu actually does the job. So the buttons are going to choose, are we restarting the level, are we loading the current scene, or are we loading the main menu? So we don't need that. Once it's done saving, or actually before it does the saving, we're gonna go around here and do player.getComponent, and we're gonna get the rigid body component. Let's store that in a field. So rigid body rigid is equal to that rigid body component we just got. So we're gonna do rigid.set velocity, or I mean it's velocity. Oh, so rigid.velocity is equal to vector3.0, and also rigid.angular velocity is equal to vector3.0. And also to make sure that it doesn't fall, let's do rigid.gravity, or I mean use gravity is equal to false. Right, so let's go have a look at this, see if we can work something out. So right now, whenever I finish the level, the ball should stop moving completely, but we still get the particle animation around that. And I think even the timer is going to work still. Right. So that's the kind of result we get. Now we get some kind of weird behavior with the ball just going a little bit too far. And we can also move the camera. Moving the camera isn't a big issue. I mean, it doesn't really matter at this point. Main menu works. Okay, so everything seems to work just fine. Maybe just restrict the ball so it doesn't slide like it just did. I think the reason it slid is because we actually hit the collider that is the wind box. Yeah, okay, so we're gonna find another way to do this. We might actually use something else. We might actually put that in comment and do rigid dot okay, so it looks like a flag, so we're gonna do rigid.constraint is equal to rigid constraint dot freeze all. Actually, we could do that, or freeze position. Let's only freeze the position so we can keep the motion of the ball rolling. That could actually be good looking. Right, so once more, let's go ahead and try this out. Gonna go in my level. Here we go. Let's end this as soon as we can. Maybe even hit the gold time, who knows. Oh, that's actually cool, I like that. Alright, so let's keep that line, and let me just go check. I completed it in the silver time, that's good. Okay, right, so we don't need this anymore. We actually take the player, we freeze it. And the only thing we need to do now is actually set the font color of the timer text. Or the end timer text, my bad. Okay, so what we're gonna do is actually find the, where is it at? I'm looking for the canvas. Oh, I'm in the wrong scene. Okay, we're gonna find this object right here, so the end menu, end timer. Or actually, since it's a little bit too hard to find like that, we're just gonna make a public reference. So up here in the level manager, right above the last text element, we're going to do public text and timer text. And we will simply do around here, so end timer text dot text is equal to, and now we got to do the same formula we've did for the timer. So this over here, I'm going to take it, duplicate, all of this and paste it down here. Like so. So right now we calculate the time and we simply set it as our text. But now we also have to change the color of that. Alright, so now as for the text color, we're gonna do nTimerText.color, and for gold, do we have some kind of gold text? So let's do color, color dot, we don't seem, we have a yellow, so that's going to be the fallback. What else do we have if we do color 32? Nothing, okay. So I'm gonna use color dot yellow. And for the silver time, and timer text.color is equal to color.gray or gray. That's the same exact thing. What else do we have? We have bronze, and as for bronze, let's use bronze, or I mean brown. My bad, I don't know how to speak. Do we have a brown? We don't seem to have a brown. Nope, we don't seem to have a brown. Let's go ahead and just do. We do not have any color that could do the job, so we might actually have to write it manually, which isn't a bad thing. Let's go ahead and find the bronze color. Right now I'm on Wikipedia and it says 205, 127, and 50. So let's go ahead and construct a new color. So new color, and we're going to be using 205, 127, and then 50. Now the only issue is that the color takes in floats as parameters like we just gave it, but it takes in float in between 0 and 1, I believe. So what we're going to do is actually do that divided by 255, 255, and 255, and hopefully this works. So I'm going to hit press play on this, and let's actually have a look. I'm going to try and make it under the gold time. So that's 7.5, and here we go. So we got this color, that's the yellow we get, and it's pretty much working. Now let's try with the silver time, which is above 7.5 seconds. And we should get it now. Might be a little bit too dark, but we can fix that. And finally, let's try with the bronze time. So that's above 10 seconds. Wait a bit, just gonna wait. And here we go. Right, I don't actually dislike the black color, but that's not what we're going for in the first place. Okay, so instead of using these values, we're actually going to do the maths real quick. So 205 divided by 255 is 0.8. So let's type that in, 0.8f. And then 127 divided by 255 is 0.4. Let's go ahead and just round that up to 0.5. And finally, 50 divided by 255 is 0.2. Let's actually give it the RGBA components. We'll give 1f at the end. And this would actually work better than last time, so we won't get the black color, hopefully. Here we go, that's our bronze time. Right, so we got pretty much everything working now, and I wanted to do some little pieces of polishing before we keep going with the, well, before we actually go ahead and just start developing our stage. So, what I'd like to do first, let's address the fact that we don't have a logo yet, which is not a big deal usually, but I think it's time. So in my main menu, I will go ahead and just take my main menu panel, the one you see over here, and we're going to add a new image in there. Now I already imported a logo that I've quickly made. I'm going to be using that instead, so it is somewhere in my artwork folder. Texture, oh yeah, here it is, that's my logo. I will make this a sprite, apply, and then let me just change that image for my logo. Something of the sort, and here we go. Right. If we hit play on this, it might not actually be centered. Okay, so we might need to lower the main menu a little bit. Like so. and here we go. So that's a very nice logo, and the game menu still works. Great. So that thing is addressed. Now what else could we do? We could actually make sure that whenever we start the game, this is scrolled all the way to the left, because right now we get this little, we get this when we open up the shop, and that's not really nice looking. Okay, so let's open up the clamp rect transform script, the one we've made I think 2 episodes ago, I'm not quite sure. And when we start, we're actually going to tell, go ahead and just scroll yourself on the x-axis all the way to the left. So to do that, we will do rt.local position is going to equal a new vector3, and we can actually just take this whole line down here. So it's going to take a new vector3, and then let's give it something like 100 in x, and then the position it already has in y, and the position already has in z. Now the reason we can give it pretty much any kind of number as long as it's like higher than 25, just to be safe, is because after that we will clamp it. After that we will actually move it back to where it should be. So if we hit play on this, we should not get this error anymore. So it is scrolled all the way to the left, as you could tell, and the same thing on this side. So that's a nice bug fix. Alright guys, so we're pretty much done with the coding of the game, at least for the base. Now we're going to be reopening some scripts here and there in case we want to integrate some art and we actually need to use some scripting. Sometimes art requires a bit of code to pretty much look nice. But in general, we're pretty much done with the game, and yeah, so the next few episodes are going to be all about making levels. Now they're not going to be coming as fast as these. They're not going to be every single day, because the level design process is not something that we can really rush to make the game fun. And you know, I'm still going to be making episodes out of those, but they're not going to be really focused on transferring knowledge. They're going to be focused on more making those levels in 3ds Max, and maybe add some kind of commentary over it as well. But pretty much I'm just going to show you what I'll be doing. Right, so guys, thanks a lot for watching, thanks a lot for following the series. Of course it's not over, we still got some polishing to do, like I've said. Once the level are done, I will address a few of the things that you guys wanted me to address, like adding the accelerometer to that game, so we can actually control it with the phone just by tilting the phone and not actually using the joystick. That could actually be fun, I believe. And there's also other suggestions that you've made in the comment that I will also address, but the next step, the next phase, is actually to make levels. So guys, thanks a lot for watching again, and if you enjoyed the video or if you enjoyed the whole series, just go ahead and leave me a like, it really helps me out. And if you have any comment or question, don't hesitate to ask. If you'd like to share your art or actually just share your reference, you can do that on the Facebook page, and I'd actually like to see the results. So if you guys may make some games with that and you'd like to show me, just send me a message somewhere or leave a YouTube comment, and we can actually get on Skype. You can show me your game, and I'm quite happy about it because I've been helping some people with that, and they showed me their game. They're doing some really wonderful stuff, and I think that we can showcase them someday. Alright, so I won't hold you any much longer. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I will be seeing you in the next few episodes.